Good morning, happy travelers. Welcome to my domain, the back galley of the airplane. I was running a little bit late today, so I was like running down the terminal, but I made it with plenty of time actually. No need to be worried, but now I'm hot. Today I'm flying out of Orange County Airport, heading to Orlando eventually. Right now we're going to Dallas and then Orlando. I have a long layover there, so I promised you guys a Q&A and you guys sent me lots of questions, so on my layover, I'm going to answer those questions for you. Now we're just about to start boarding and I need to get everything set up back here, so I will see you in Orlando. Good morning, or should I say good afternoon, happy travelers. I am in Orlando now. Last night we got in, it was a good day, pretty drama-free, which is always nice. Then the crew wanted to go out actually, so I went out with the crew and I realized I did not bring any like regular clothes, so I just wore my workout clothes. So I promised you a Q&A. I have a little bit of time, not too much though, so if I don't finish it now, I will finish it at home. And I asked on Instagram, which my Instagram is The Awkward Tourist, and I've had that for years and years, which is why it's not The Awkward Flight Attendant, but I actually do own The Awkward Flight Attendant, so if you search that too, it'll be me just with like nothing on it, and then you can go over to The Awkward Tourist. Anyway, so I asked on Instagram, so I'm gonna do those questions first. And my first question was horrible passenger stories. Everybody wants to hear these. So luckily I don't have like a ton of horrible passenger stories. Number one, I don't fly a lot. People who fly a lot during the month, I'm sure have a lot more bad passenger stories, but they are generally the exception rather than the rule. Most people are polite, if not downright nice, so that's good. Mostly just when I have to deal with entitled people who think they're entitled to, you know, sit wherever they want or do whatever they want, or, you know, call me on the call light as many times as they want, or they treat me like I'm their servant or their bartender, you know. I wish I was a bartender, I'd be getting tips. Yeah, it's just those types of people who don't want to follow the rules, even though they know what the rules are. Yeah, it's mainly just the passengers who are entitled. I've never had, I should knock on wood, never had one of those crazy make it to the news stories where someone just goes absolutely nuts, which is good. What is your work schedule like? This is a complicated question. I feel like all these answers are going to be really complicated. Our work schedules as flight attendants can be, I say this without meaning for it to be a pun, but our work schedules are all over the place, both literally and figuratively. Yesterday I had a sign-in time of 7:55 in the morning, and then the next day I might have a sign-in time of 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or even like 11 p.m. if it's going to be a red eye. So the times vary a lot, which is something I really struggle with, not having a routine. But just know that if you want to be a flight attendant, you are not going to have a routine. Okay, let me preface this by saying everything I'm saying is my own personal experience and has to do with my airline. It may be different for other people and other airlines, and these are my personal opinions, I should say. They do not reflect those of my employer. For my airline, what we do is we bid for our schedule a month beforehand. Like for July next month, I bid for my schedule between June 10th and June 15th. That's our bidding window. So basically we go in and we put in our preferences is what it is. You know, we say we want 2-day trips and we want to work in the galley and we want all the trips to be on Thursdays and we want to go here and here and here, whatever. And so it's all based on seniority. The computer goes in and, you know, it gives the most senior people what they want first, and then it goes down from there. So the more preferences you put in, the more chances you'll get something you like. Then I will see my entire July schedule. But then you can go in and trade and drop. So we have dropping and trading with other flight attendants. So I can say, hey, I have this trip, you know, do you want to have it if you want extra money or whatever? And they can just take it, or we can trade trips. I can say, I like your trip, you like my trip, let's trade. Or we can also do that with the company, which means basically you put in your preferences and it's also seniority based. You say, hey, I have this trip and I don't want it anymore. I see there are other trips that might be available. Let me put in 5 options and then maybe you'll get it, maybe not. It's a little tough. The flight attendant schedule is very flexible until it's not. If you're really on top of it, you can trade around a lot of things and get a lot of time off if you want, or work a lot if you want. Sometimes trips just will not move. Like no one will take them, they won't move in the company, and you just are out of luck at that point. So it's flexible until it's not. And you can't really just call and take a personal day. That doesn't really exist, unfortunately. So you kind of have to plan your life around your flight attendant schedule. If you have more questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Next question, what is the most challenging part of your job? Probably the schedule. As it probably sounded like, it's pretty complicated. The schedule is very challenging. Like I said, not having a routine really gets me. I slept really late today. It's product of last week. I had a bunch of really late nights where I wasn't getting to my hotel rooms or wasn't getting home until, after midnight. And then I need to stay awake for a little while because I'm just wind down. So I've been going to sleep really late and waking up really late, which I really don't like. But then in a couple days, I have a sign in at like 7 o'clock in the morning, so I'll have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's really hard. The days I work aren't consistent either, so if I want to do something, I have to either plan it around my trips or be really diligent about trying to trade and drop, like I said. And also flying is exhausting, so it makes me really tired. So yeah, definitely the schedule for me is the most challenging part of my job. Did you work for the airline in another capacity first or just as a flight attendant? I just worked as a flight attendant first. It wasn't even really an intention that I had to become a flight attendant. I just saw the job opening and applied and got it, which isn't the story I hear from a lot of people where they apply for lots of different airlines or they become like an agent or something else at the airline first and then become a flight attendant. Or some people just get it on the first try like me. I got lucky in that sense, I guess. That is a path as well, especially if you don't want to move where the flight attendant bases are, or you don't want to commute. Working for the airline in a different capacity, you can work at your home airport. You just get to drive home every night and you get flight benefits as well. So that's pretty cool. Do you do a murderer check when you travel with Kevin? Not as diligently as I probably should. I'm pretty thorough when I'm by myself, but when I'm with Kevin, we're usually distracted by all of our luggage and checking in and figuring out where to eat and all that stuff. So not as diligently as I should, but I do sometimes, and a little bit. What is one thing you would love to tell passengers but absolutely could not because you'd get fired? Depends on the passenger. Actually, what I'd like to say is that I know travel is stressful and being on an airplane and you have so little personal space, and that sucks. The flying process these days isn't the best, but flight attendants, our job is to keep you safe and enforce the rules that do keep you safe. Sometimes when I tell people, to put their seatbelt on and put their seat up and do all these things, I feel like people think that I'm just on a power trip and trying to tell them what to do, and people really don't like to be told what to do. First of all, we're just doing our jobs. That's it. Second of all, these are all FAA regulations, so they're federally mandated, and if we don't tell you to do them when we see that you don't have your seatbelt on or whatever, we could get fined. So just know that, if we don't do the things we're supposed to do, we could get a fine from the FAA if we get caught. So we're trying not to get fined. We're doing our jobs as we're trained to do, keeping you guys safe. And that's all it is, basically, is safety. I mean, I know the service component is most of what you guys see, but when we're telling you to do things, I wish you all would just know that it's for safety and we're just doing our jobs. We're not on power trips. I mean, I guess some flight attendants are on power trips, but just give us a break, please. We're tired and we work very long days and very early mornings, very late nights. Help us out by just listening to us, please. That would help. Any advice for larger travelers? I know this has been kind of a hot button issue in the news recently. The seats and the aisles are narrow. Unless there's a fundamental change in the way airlines design their seats, which I don't really see there being, unfortunately, it's difficult for larger travelers. They want to fit as many seats on the plane as they possibly can to make money, and they can't very much make the aisles wider without taking out seats because you can't change the width of the aircraft. That's just something that's not possible. If you can, I would suggest paying a little extra money so you can choose a seat with a little extra leg room or sitting in first class. It's really unfortunate that it's so uncomfortable for larger travelers, whether you're just larger or you're very tall or whatever. I definitely understand that is uncomfortable. And also, you can ask your flight attendants too, I am in the seat and I'm really uncomfortable. If there's anything you can do, we might be able to move you if there are seats available. But if we can't because of policy or because the flight's full and there are no extra seats, you know, don't get mad at them because I told you to. But you know, you could always ask just in case. Do you work flights always round trip, or can you work a flight and stay for a vacay and then work a flight home? Pretty much just round trips. I mean, every once in a while, there may be a time where like I go somewhere and then I deadhead home, which if you deadhead, you don't have to be on that flight. I guess you can either go somewhere else or not be on the deadhead. In terms of the company giving you positive space on the deadhead, meaning you're not standby, you actually have a seat. If you cancel that, they probably won't give you another one if you say, hey, I'd rather go to Cancun. They're not gonna deadhead you to Cancun. That's the whole thing about the flight attendant bases, is you begin and you end in your base. And you can't really just choose the flights you work home. That's not really how it works. Have scheduling and have this whole thing. You can't just be like, I'll take that one, and then you go and do it. That'd be cool if you could have a vacay, but I usually just non-rev, which is using my travel benefits. But sometimes, depending on your layover, it could be like a vacay, right? I wish we had cooler vacay type layovers out of LA. Maybe one day. I guess there's Hawaii. That could be like a 24-hour vacay. Are you always completely exhausted? Yeah, pretty much. Whew. Yeah, as I said, the schedule is difficult for me personally. Last week I did 2 3-days in a row, so I worked 6 days in a row, and that was a total of 10 flights, which was actually a pretty low amount of flights for 2 3-days. You could get 12 or even 15 flights in 2 3-days, so 10 flights was pretty good. But yeah, I'm exhausted pretty much all the time. Being up in the airplane with the cabin pressure and the low humidity is exhausting. We don't eat properly when we're working either. You know, you don't always have time in between flights to get food. Bringing food on the airplane can be difficult because you have to figure out, you know, it might be a salad or a sandwich or something that you don't have to heat up. So yeah, I usually end up pretty exhausted and dehydrated and hungry. What are the rules on seating children with parents if you don't pay to select seats? I don't think there are any. I know a couple of airlines have moved towards making it a little bit easier for parents and children to sit together. I don't know if my airline is one of them. Flight attendants will usually try to do it if you ask them, and you can also ask people to switch seats with you, but if they don't want to, it's their assigned seat, so they're entitled to sit there, so you can't really get mad at them for not wanting to move. Usually if you don't pay to select seats, it means you're flying on one of the more budget tickets, so there's just not a lot of wiggle room for that kind of thing. Tell me something people don't know about flight attendants. I have to think about this one. Something people don't know. All right, I think I thought of something that not everyone knows about flight attendants. And then I'm gonna have to end this right now because it's getting close to pickup time and I need to get ready. Anyway, so something that people don't know about flight attendants. So not everybody's cut out to be a flight attendant, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that you suck if you can't be a flight attendant. I can barely be a flight attendant myself most times. What I mean is, if you're the right type of person and you have this job, it really gets in your blood. There are a lot of people who have quit being a flight attendant for whatever reason, and then they go back. They either go back to the same airline or a different airline, which is, it sucks doing that. It really sucks because you lose all of your seniority and you have to start at the beginning. That's what tells you that it really gets in your blood, is people will go through all that just to be a flight attendant again and have this job. It's for people who are just not cut out for 9 to 5, I think. And I think the people who end up quitting after just a few years, which happens, I think it's after a couple years or you're here for life, pretty much. If you quit after a couple years, you're probably more of the 9 to 5 person, which I think for me, like I've said a lot of times, I guess in this video, the schedule's difficult, but I don't think I could do a 9 to 5, especially after having this job. So I don't know if it's in my blood, maybe it is, but the travel benefits are absolutely out of this world, and travel in general is in my blood. I said I was gonna quit years ago, and then said I was gonna quit a couple years after that, and then a couple years after that. 9 years later, here I am. Flight attendants are a certain breed of people, and I don't know if everyone kind of realizes that. The job is not for everybody. But I'm gonna end this part here. As I said, I have to go down for pickup and actually do my job now. But it's go home day, so I'll be home tonight. So I will see you guys later. Yay, I have made it home. There's nothing better than stepping foot in home. In home? At my home? In my home? After a long trip, and Kevin's making me some food right now, bless his heart. The Q&A was getting a little bit long, so I'm gonna do a part 2, and you guys are gonna have to stay tuned for that. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you like this video. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. This is Kelly from the Awkward Flight Attendant. Peace out. Now we're just about to start boarding. Now we're just about to start. Stay. Ugh. Jeez. Excuse me. Whoa. Choked on my own spit there. All right. I hope that answers questions. If you have more questions about my question answers, no. Did I work for the airline in another drink some of this coffee. Not caffeinated yet, even though it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. Oh, it's not that good. I know a couple of airlines have moved towards making it a little